Good morning, everyone. I was in Colorado yesterday for a bar mitzvah. A member of our shul who had a bar mitzvah for their son in Colorado. And we had a minyan of a service, of course, and we read the Torah. And after the bar mitzvah ceremony and the davening, a young man came up to me, looked like he was in his 40s, and he said, Rabbi, the last time I put on tefillin was at my bar mitzvah, but could you tell me what's the reason for the tefillin? So I went into a whole explanation about the mind and the heart. I'm giving this whole explanation. And there's another guy standing there, an older gentleman, and he said, it's very simple. It's your spiritual antennas. And I really like that explanation, that your tefillin is like your spiritual antennas. You know, what's an antenna? There could be beautiful music or things going on in the airwaves, but if you don't pull up your antenna, you're not hearing it, right? So too, God's music, so to speak, is vibrating, is pulsating through the world. But unfortunately, not everyone is aware of it. Not everyone's sensitive to feel it, to sense it, to be aware of it. If your antennas are down, you could be missing out. So the tefillin sort of is pulling up our antennas to get more spiritually in tune to God. And I think it's also a great metaphor for the 9 days. Today begins the 9 days of mourning the destruction of the temple. It will culminate on Tisha B'Av next Sunday with the 24-hour fast. And people say, life is good. What do we need a holy temple for? What do we need a Kohen Gadol? What do we need the restoration of the Bet HaMikdash? And I think the real answer is the spirituality. Right now we live in exile, and I don't have to convince you that exile is a dark place. There's so much evil, there's so much corruption, there's so much, you look at the news today, it's like, it's horrible. There's nothing good, there's nothing positive. Everything is the worst of human nature is coming out all over the place. And you say human beings are so much more capable in that. We have so much more spiritual potential than to be acting the way human beings act. And it's almost like we're ashamed of the human race, And the question is this the way God created us to be, the way we're acting? And the answer is no. God has a much greater plan for us. But in exile, there's a darkness, there's a concealment of God's presence. And the more we could pull up our antennas and be more aware, more spiritually connected, not just to God, but to one another as fellow human beings, the better the world will be. And that's what the holiness of the Beis HaMikdash will bring into the world. It's interesting that tomorrow we're going to read 2 Torah portions, Matos and Masay, and then we're going to conclude with Chazak, finishing the 4th book of the Torah. When it comes to the last section we're going to read, Masay, it talks about the journeys of the Jewish people through the desert to the Promised Land. And every human being is journeying towards that Promised Land. But there's an interesting analogy used by Rabbi Scheiner. He says that if a mother, imagine a mother, she's traveling on a trip to many countries. So she goes from New York to France, and from France to Israel, and from Israel she has to go to Australia. And in each country she's boarding a plane, deboarding, then getting through passport control and customs, and then another plane and another airport. If you would stop this woman along the way, she would tell you, I'm in this airport, I'm on this plane, I'm in this country, I'm in that country. He said, but imagine this mother was carrying an infant baby on this long journey. And you ask the baby, where are you now? The baby would say at all times one answer, I'm in my mother's arms. And he said, that's the way the journey of life is. We think we're going through all these different stages of our life, and we're going through all these different experiences, and we always think we're somewhere else. But the awareness that we're ultimately always in Hashem's arms, that wherever life brings us, whatever experiences we have, it's all part of a big divine plan. That awareness and that comfort and that faith and that strength comes from an awareness that Hashem is carrying us at all times. So let us utilize these 9 days to pull up our antennas, to heighten our awareness, and to try to bring more of Hashem's presence into our personal lives and collectively into our community, and together try to change this whole world and make it a place where Hashem's presence will dwell.